technically my friend's wedding was a Western one.
Yeah. See, so this is the grey area as like in Hong Kong.
But my mum was very appalled by this. But anyway, let's move on.
Hi, and welcome to Tell Me Over Tea. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Lois.
And I'm Sylvie.
And today we are going to talk about bridesmaids. We're going to talk about our experiences. We're going to talk about dresses, expenses, some mishaps. But first, what are we drinking today?
I am having what Hong Kongers call a yun yang, and it's like a half and half of coffee and tea. And usually it's like a 50-50%. And I love it because it's kind of got the Hong Kong influence, but then also like drinking tea, which is something that I used to do a lot when I was in the UK.
Cool. I'm having a ta zhao, which is basically a Hong Kong style milk tea, but instead of sweetening it with sugar, they sweeten it with condensed milk.
I am having an English breakfast tea with oat milk because we are at Lois's place and she doesn't have any regular milk.
Because I am lactose, in fact, like every Asian out there.
Not me. I'm only half, but hey-ho.
I'm not lactose either, so.
Oh, really?
Just you.
All right, so now that we get into the topic of being bridesmaid, Steph, what is the first, when was the first time you were asked to be a bridesmaid?
Ooh, so I got asked for the first time to be a bridesmaid during COVID. And it was a little bit controversial because I didn't really get the option to not be a bridesmaid. It wasn't really an ask so much as it was, you're going to be my bridesmaid. And I was like, okay.
Wait,
yeah.
You couldn't say no?
Well, it wasn't phrased as a question. It wasn't like, will you be my bridesmaid? This is what it entails. It was like, hey, come over for dinner, blah, blah, blah. I sat down. Just so you know, you're going to be my bridesmaid. And I was like, oh, okay. We were friends at the time and I wasn't going to say no, but it was a little bit like, oh, sure.
Wait,
Yeah.
that's not something that's not the way it usually goes. I think usually you get asked.
Yes. Because so I've been a bridesmaid twice, coming on 3 times now. I will be 3
She's
times.
a pro.
Yeah. And every other time I've been asked. And I guess it's kind of weird because they ask with the implication that you're going to say yes. So either way, it almost feels like you can't say no. But the first time that it happened, I was not given an option to say no. So not the best experience. But what about you guys? What was your bridesmaid asking experience like?
Well, the very first time.
Have you been more than once?
No, I haven't. But I've got asked previously before on 2 separate occasions.
I've never experienced. Okay,
Well, so
tell us.
the very first time was, I was like 18.
Oh, okay.
Or young. So I used to go to dance school with these girls. And I used to be really good friends with them.
I think I know who.
But it was that sort of relationship where when you were super young and you'd go out together and you just, do all the trivial late teenager things together and you just talk about shopping and all the random stuff. And anyway, I'm not really friends with these people anymore. But the wedding took place in America and I was asked. And the thing is, I think I said I would like to, but then in the end, it financially wasn't feasible for me to go there.
It is a huge commitment.
Yeah, especially at 18.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna fly to the US and whatever. And back then, we were good friends and things, but I wasn't the only one who didn't participate. It was me and another person that got asked that didn't go because we were just like, well, I can't really afford it.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
So that was the very first time I got asked to be a bridesmaid, which I didn't become a bridesmaid. And there seems to be a running theme here. And the second time I got asked to be a bridesmaid was the time that Steph got asked to be the bridesmaid. And I actually completely forgot about the whole thing. I've just deleted it from my mind as in I don't remember how we were asked.
We went to dinner at her fiance's family home or something like that.
Was I there?
Yeah, you were there because you had gotten there first, and then I got there late and had sat down, and then she was like, surprise, by the way. Like,
the only thing I remember was we were at a restaurant once, and I think this was a little bit further on. That was different. That was like planning the wedding. I was like, anyway, so I was
asked.
I was asked a second time. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember now because it was such a long time ago. And again, I'm no longer friends with this person. And it's just, I was asked on this second time. And it was going to go ahead. But then drama. I was no longer the bridesmaid.
Okay. Yeah.
As in, we just like fell out. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And so what about that time when you actually became a bridesmaid?
Third time lucky. It was a pretty good friend of mine. I can't remember either.
Like how it happened.
No, it was not how it happened. I think she was in Hong Kong at the time because she lives in Germany. And she came back, and I think she had a dinner with me and the other bridesmaids, and I think she just asked us there. Oh no, did she? Guys, my memory. Seriously, I don't know. I think I was just so excited that I was like, yes, of course I'll be your bridesmaid. Yeah, that was the third time. Successful. There we go.
I feel like you're both very experienced because, like I've only been asked once, and then I was the bridesmaid that one time, and that's kind of
I don't count the first two times.
Fair enough.
Because I don't even remember them really.
yeah, but how were you asked?
So I the first time I was a bridesmaid happened actually just at the beginning of last year. And obviously we're kind of at an age where everyone's getting married slowly but surely. And so we've all been going to a lot of weddings. And so I kind of have always, I think I have more like fantasy over being a bridesmaid than being a bride for some reason. And I think that comes from like the type of movies I used to watch. 27 Dresses? Do you know that movie with Katherine Heigl? Yeah, like I just think it's so fun to like help someone towards a big day, or like to be a part of someone's big day, especially with someone you really care about. I think it's for me, I got really lucky because this is a really close friend of mine from primary school. I've been over for 20 years, and then we also had unlike a lot of other bridesmaid teams these days, we had 5 really close friends. We were all from the same school, and so we weren't like the typical case where you have like people from different walks of life who have been friends with the bride, and so there was no time needed for us to gel as a team. I mean, I say team, but it was so relaxed. Like, we didn't really get a lot of tasks or responsibilities. The bride was extremely relaxed about the whole thing. And so it was more just like we were here to have fun. And we got asked, actually, I think she prepared us like a little box, and it was like we knew it was happening. She asked us, I think over dinner, but it was so informal because we kind of knew we were going to be bridesmaids. But she did gift us a little box of something, and like little personalized like knickknacks or like snacks and stuff, and so it felt really special. And the whole wedding itself was like a huge memory, like type of banking experience, because all of our primary school friends came back to celebrate the first basically friend in this group to get married, essentially. And so I had a pretty positive like first bridesmaid experience, and it wasn't entirely stressful because it was quite a simple wedding.
I find it really interesting when you literally said like you're all primary school friends, and like the fact that you're like still in touch and you're all still like really good friends, and the fact that she doesn't have any other bridesmaids from like I don't know, maybe her university or like things like this. So it's like it's like
she grew up here, and so she didn't go to school elsewhere. And so like I think her core friendships are mainly in Hong Kong, but because we went to school in primary school together, but then we were also in secondary school together. So not all of us, some of us started trickling and leaving like throughout secondary school, but a few of us stayed with her in the same school until we were like 18. I
guess I'm like just really impressed in the sense of like the bond in the friendship, like how it like lasted, like how I was saying, like the first time I was asked, like those friends that I was friends with, like I really don't talk to them anymore, really. I think it's just like different experience, like how you just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we managed to like, do that.
Yeah,
like
personalities, like
has worked. Yeah, but I mean, also, when I say we're really close, I think I mean that in the fact that we have a lot of shared memories together. We don't talk all the time. We have a group on WhatsApp, and we check in like on big days, birthdays, or like when we have like an update that relates to all of us, so we find it funny or we can relate to. But I think there's a bit of value in having friends that you like spent childhood with. I think that bit of like shared experience is something you can't really replicate in adulthood, and you make friends as an adult. In my opinion, it's much harder to make friends as an adult. And you know, I think it's fair to say that maybe in some parallel universe, some of these friends, if I had met as an adult, we might not still have this type of bond, but because we met when we were so young, and you were kind of in the same context of being in a school and spending time together, there's just something that you can't really quite replace with that. And that's probably how we've kind of clung on to that. And when you get together, all you do is talk about the old times. And it's kind of like, it's like a time vacuum or something. Like everything that you do now as an adult ceased to exist. And all you do is like reminisce. And I sound so old when I'm saying that. And I know I'm not even that old. But all you do is like reminisce about the times when you used to run around in the playground. Or like get told off by the teacher, you know? So yeah, that is cute.
Okay, well, bringing it back, what was your bridesmaid dress like?
Okay, so because I'm a rookie with being a bridesmaid, people have now told me that sometimes the bride decides what the bridesmaid wears. And I don't know if that is like general regular practice, if it's like cultural or not. But for us, because like I said, we had a really laid back bride and we were close friends, so we kind of she gave us like almost all the autonomy to do what we want. And so us 5 girls, we I think we started a chat on WhatsApp, and we were kind of asking her, what colors do you prefer? And she gave us like a few options. And then you know, because being girls, we have each other's backs. So among the 5 of us, 4 of us have quite similar like complexions, a bit more tanned because we do more outdoor activities and whatnot. And one of us was slightly more on like the fair skin side. And so we actually kind of differed to her, being like, because maybe color-wise we have different like preferences. What would you like? Because we're like a majority, right? And so she liked sage, which is kind of quite a popular choice these days. This like, I think it was trending. I think like Zendaya wore a dress, like a sage dress a couple of years ago, and it like blew up on the red carpet. Also, huge fan of Zendaya, but very tangent thought. And so that happened. We chose a color, and then she just said, you know what, pick your own dresses. Let's just go with this tone, and you can buy your own. And maybe that's slightly unconventional, but the truth is I personally liked it like that, because now I have a dress that I would wear again. Because, you know, if you have a typical bridesmaid dress that is made for you, or maybe like made at the tailor, or you buy the same one like that everyone else wears, you might not ever wear that dress again, because it could it would not be right for other occasions, or like be very like bridesmaid-y style. And so I bought my own, and we all did. And the truth is it took longer because you have to find it and find the right fit and stuff. But I think we all preferred it that way. But I'm keen to hear, like, because like Steph, expert here, like what is the general practice? Because I feel I don't know.
I don't think there is a general practice nowadays. I think usually, or at least the weddings that I've been to, there's like a color scheme for the wedding, and then the bride usually asks you to stay within the color scheme. So it's sort of similar. I think maybe sometimes if they want to be more specific, they will choose both a color and a type of fabric, but it really depends on the bride and like what she prefers. So for my 2 weddings, but because they were both COVID weddings, there's like kind of exceptions. For the first one, I could wear whatever I wanted because I ended up being the only bridesmaid. And I don't even think I was given that title on the day, because the wedding just got smaller and smaller because of like quarantine rules. Or
you were the wedding planner.
Yeah.
In a nutshell,
I would say I was the day of coordinator, definitely. Not the planner, because I didn't plan very much.
Manager.
Yeah. The stage manager. But for the second wedding, because we did rentals, it was like the color was chosen for us, and there were not a lot of options. So we ended up trying them on the day, and they were all the same color because it was the same company, and because we only rented them for a day, it was like there were 4 bridesmaids, there were 5 styles, and it was all like floor length gowns that were grayish, and then the top part was just like ever so slightly different. And so I think we could have all been like wearing the exact same dress, but my friend who the bride was like, it's a little bit more variation if you're all wearing different styles but the same color. And so we just swapped dresses around until we found what we liked and was like, okay, yeah, let's just wear these. And because it was a rental and because the bride was more specific about what she wanted, she actually ended up paying the rental price for that. And then, yeah.
Which is that usually what happens?
There's a debate on that, I think. I think it kind of depends on if you're having like a more Western style wedding or if you're not, because the mindset is different. I think like for a lot of typical like Hong Kong weddings, because they view it as like your bridal party being like part of the decor, actually. It's like, oh, you guys are being pretty for my wedding, so I have to make you guys as pretty as I can afford.
Okay.
That's traditionally like I think in Chinese culture like what it would typically be like, whereas Western weddings it's like you guys are being pretty for you. It's a little bit more individualistic, I think, which like, you know, if you're okay with it, if everyone in your bridal party is like okay monetarily, you know, with doing that, I also think it's fine, but it depends. Yeah.
Also, you didn't get to keep the dress.
No, it was a rent. It was a 1-day rental. We picked it up day before.
It would be strange if you had
after.
to pay for a rental that you didn't keep, I would say.
Like
if you had to pay for it yourself.
I think if I had the option of choosing what I actually wanted to wear, like the color and the cut and stuff like that, I think I would have been okay with paying for it myself. But because she was so specific about it, I was like, I mean, I was also okay to pay for it by myself, but she was like, yeah, I'll do it. It's fine. And I was like, okay, you know, like I appreciate it. You know, I think it's great that you're willing to offer, because not everyone is, and like, you know, course, but also weddings are expensive. It's like, okay, if I can't afford to, you know, like comp all my friends, then like I'm also okay to pay for this for your special day, you know. So yeah. What about you, Sylvie?
The wedding that I was successfully a bridesmaid for, it was a bit similar to Lois's setting in the sense that there was a color scheme. A theme. It wasn't like as specific as sage. It was like a forest green, but
that's a massive range of colors, no?
Yeah, so it was like any sort of green.
Oh, that's a bit risky.
Yes and no, I don't think so. I think sometimes when you have like different like hues of green, that can also look really nice because it's like a gradient. Yes. Yeah,
I have seen that.
Yeah, so she had like a mood board and everything and a Pinterest thing and like shared it to us, and it was the same thing as we get to pick the style that we want, but we also had to kind of show it to her first, as in like not just so that, you know, it can somewhat be a little bit more like cohesive, not just like randomly show up on the day and like, oh cool, this is your dress. I would say like there were 5 of us and we all had pretty different dresses in the sense that they were all different shades of green and they were also different fabrics. Okay. It was nice in the sense of like, I think that the variety and the style, but it wasn't like super typical, like, you know, everything looked like, you know, sometimes when you see like the conventional bridesmaids, they're all in the same dress. They look like a party together. Whereas I like the individualistic style of each. But like, yeah, I like the fact that we got to pick our own dress. We paid for it ourselves, and I have managed to wear it again and recycle it again, which is something that I think is very good, because otherwise it'd just be sitting in your cupboard. And
I mean, this kind of leads us to the next topic about like the expenses, right? Because Sylvie, you mentioned about the fact that you paid for your own dress, but like, was there anything else that you had to pay for yourself?
Okay, so I forgot to give the context about the wedding was a Western style wedding.
Okay.
But me being a Hong Konger, I gave I can't remember if she had like, if you're talking about like paying things myself, I gave yanteng, which is basically for people who don't know what yanteng is, it's like a red lychee packet that has money in, and normally you would do that regardless if you were a bridesmaid or if you were, you know, a person just as a guest attending a wedding, you would give it to the bride and groom. So I guess that kind of essentially covers your meal and the, you know, your venue like participation to the wedding. I can't remember if she had you know how nowadays it's quite popular to have like a website and then you can essentially
a registry of things you want.
But it wasn't a registry though. I know like the Western styles registry and you can physically buy like things. She had, I think it was like fund for like honeymoon or something like that, or blah 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 blah, something like this. I think that was what happened, but I physically gave like a yanteng, which is to her. There wasn't really anything else I paid specifically myself for apart from just, you know.
But you had to do like your own hair and makeup, or?
Yes, because she didn't have you know, makeup artist. So we all did our own hair and makeup, and she was pretty like okay with like us doing whatever kind of hair and makeup we want. I helped out her sister who doesn't really wear makeup, so I was sort of in the dressing room, you know, sorting everybody out, like little touch-ups, like, because not everybody, you know, is used to wearing makeup, obviously, you know, with like dance background, blah blah blah. I was happy to do it. I find it fun. Anything else? I'm trying to think.
I don't know. Did they do like Hindus or anything like that? Did you have to pay for any of that?
It was pretty. Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
It was pretty. Low key. It wasn't. There wasn't like a massive Hindu, in the sense that we went out partying and drinking. My friend doesn't drink that much really. We went for dinner. We went for like a nice dinner, and we paid. I think we did. We just split it. Actually, after the wedding, the actual ceremony, because it was a afternoon sort of lunch style wedding. After that, we did have a dinner after the ceremony and the actual wedding, of just the bridesmaids and plus ones and her close family members at a nice restaurant, which we didn't pay for. So that was really nice.
So it was like a cozier type of wedding.
Yeah, it was, because it was just like the tail end of COVID. There wasn't that many people, and again, the groom, he was the only one here from his side of the family. It wasn't like, you know, his family from Germany would have had to travel and then quarantine, and it was just a little bit like too much. So it was, nice, small, and cozy in that sense. Steph?
For the first wedding, I did also give like red envelopes to the bride, but I think that was the only thing that I had to pay for because she hadn't specified what kind of dress I was going to wear. So I actually made the dress that I wore to
You made your
wedding.
own dress?
Yeah, not a good idea because I'm not a seamstress.
Wait, tell us more. I'm so intrigued.
There is nothing else to tell. It was an okay dress, but it very poorly constructed. And it was just like, I did not have a dress at the time. That was a nice looking dress. I wore it on the MTR to the venue and then also back. So I was like fully like...
You were in the full getup.
Yeah, full getup, like in public transportation. Yeah, but I think, aside from red envelopes, I don't think I paid for anything else. It was like very small that she didn't have like anything else beforehand or after. For the other wedding, we had a brunch that I had paid for, which was like getting to know all of the groomsmen as well. So it was just a bridal party, groomsmen party, brunch. And then we had drinks after that, but I don't remember drinking anything. And then on the day, I also gave her a red packet yeah, but because, so I didn't know this, but when you play games like in a Chinese wedding, before the tea ceremony, usually there's like a game that the bridal and groom party play, where they like essentially give a lot of red packets in order to get, like, the groomsmen will like give a bunch of red packets in order to get to the bride, and usually you like lock them out, and then you get like a bunch of money, and then you open the door, and then it's just like multiple steps in order to get to the bride. I didn't know that the bridal party gets to keep that money. Yeah, and so that was a nice surprise, which I wasn't expecting, and so that was interesting, like, on the day to be like, where do we put all of these red envelopes? And my friend was like, they're yours.
Yeah. I just tipped you.
Yeah, exactly.
It is like a really interesting tradition. Yeah. Basically, as a groom, whether or not we find it metaphorical or not, like the whole point of getting married and being able to find your bride is like to throw money at it and throw your efforts and be stupid and be humiliated in order to be able to marry your bride. Like, that is the premise of a Chinese like wedding when you do like the fun and the games. But yeah, okay, so you kind of like probably covered whatever you had to spend on. Depending on how much you spend.
Just lock them out for the whole day.
Yeah.
Come on, pay out.
Because bridesmaids, like, especially in Hong Kong, there's like a certain amount of money, I think, that you're expected to give to the bride as Yunseng. And so
I did not know that.
Yeah. So
especially if you're close friends.
Yeah. So the closer you are, the more you're supposed to give.
I am so glad I didn't know this.
Yeah. And so if you're in the bridal party, you're essentially one of the closest people to the bride. And so you have to give a pretty penny.
I mean, okay, I didn't skimp, so I think I'm safe.
Yeah.
I had a 101 from my Chinese mom.
Should ask.
And she had her opinions about, why are you buying your own dress?
Yeah.
Yes.
My mom also like was like, oh, I mean, I think maybe in America it's also a little bit different, and it's also different depending on like if your family is from China, which part of China you are from. Because some people, like the bridesmaids, do not have to give the red envelopes to the bride, and they just pay for everything, which is how it's like in my mom's hometown. So she was like, why are you giving your friend a red envelope? You're essentially doing a play for your friend that she is producing. So she should shell out. And she should also tip you with that money that you got. You know?
I was about to ask, did none of you get a red packet as a bridesmaid?
I got one in the first wedding. I don't remember if I got one in the second one.
Oh, because I thought that was part of the tradition. Because I got a red packet as a bridesmaid.
Yes.
You know, on top of like the can you be my bridesmaid gift box?
It is, but
it
technically
depends.
My friend's wedding was a Western one.
Yeah. See, so this is the grey area as like in Hong Kong.
But my mum was very appalled by this. But anyway, let's move on.
I feel like I should consult your mother in the future if like for traditional.
What does your mum think?
Because I don't think my parents are very traditional. So I'm not even sure they fully know what the thing is. Like when my parents got married, they didn't do any of the like the 新郎玩新郎歌 like to like games,
really?
have games with the groom. Yeah. They didn't do any of that.
My mum didn't do that because she married an English guy, but you know, he wouldn't understand any of it.
But so I think my parents have very little understanding or maybe like belief towards that, and so they didn't know much. But yes, I paid for my own dress because we chose a dress that we would wear again. Before I knew about like the regular traditions, I didn't really feel like it was an issue for me to pay for a dress, especially because I've worn it since. And I picked a dress that I knew I would wear again. And so I felt fine about that. And then, like I said, I did get a red packet as a bridesmaid, and I also gave Yanting. So yeah.
Yay. Okay, guys. Well, that's all the time that we have today. If you enjoyed this, follow us on Spotify, give us a review. It really helps, and we'll see you next time. Bye.